Quest 3 Level 1, Culture Defended. This specifically is about Native American culture and 5 different Native American authors who are defending their culture in some way from those who threaten it. Maybe it's a very distinct and real and pressing threat. Maybe it's the person who's creating the threat thinks they're doing a nice thing, they're helping, but it's still somehow a threat to their identity. Sometimes it's a threat or actual actions that took place a long time ago that are leaving a part of the culture right now that needs to be defended. So we're going to take a look at how these authors do it. And it's set up in the first 3 activities in this level. The first 2 sort of pair an informational nonfiction text with a piece of literature or literary text. First, that means comparing a nonfiction text from Springboard with a short story that's not in Springboard. An Indian Father's Plea is an argument in your Springboard book. It's longish, but it's written by a guy named Medicine Grizzly Bear. So you know it's going to be awesome. His name is Medicine Grizzly Bear. Actually, if you click through to his website on the level document, you can see he's a little, prophecies and UFO visits and stuff like that. But he makes a lot of really good points in this particular letter. It's Dear Teacher, and his son has just started kindergarten. His son has been learning the ways of Native American culture, and so is kind of behind his white peers when he gets to kindergarten. So he's explaining to the teacher that his son is not, in fact, a quote-unquote slow learner. His son actually knows a crap ton more than the other kids in the class do. It's just different stuff. And that is paired with a short story by Leslie Marmon Silko called The Mantis and Rain Clouds. And it's a story about a grandfather who dies and his grandsons. He's native, and so they want to go ahead and do all of the native rituals. They get all of the native members of the community. They come together. They do the funeral. And one of the wives of one of these grandsons says, yeah, should we head up to the Catholic Church and get the priest? Maybe do the last rites, the holy water business. And so there's this whole metaphorical, symbolic thing having to do with water, which is just absolutely amazing in the story. Now, because there's a literary text and a nonfiction text, you're going to do 2 different graphic organizers. For an Indian Father's Plea, you're going to do a smell graphic organizer, which goes through its sender-receiver relationship is the S, message is the M, emotional strategies, logical strategies, language strategies. There's information in the level document about how to do this. There's information in your Springboard book about how to do this. I've got a whole separate video about how to do smell that you can watch. And then for the short story, you're going to do SIFT, which is looking at symbols, looking at images, looking at figurative language, and then the title, the theme, or the tone, or all 3. Now, that set of graphic organizers is repeated for the next activity in this level, where you are comparing a poem by noted Native American poet Sherman Alexie to an essay written about 150 years earlier by a Pequot Indian named William Apess. And so both of them are making an argument in their own way about defending Native culture. So you will do a SIFT for the poem, and you will do a smell for the essay. Now, after each one of those pairs, you're going to take a moment and you're going to say which one you think was more effective at creating a defense of the Native culture. And I don't want you to think automatically that the informational text, the persuasive essay or the persuasive letter, I don't want you to automatically think that those have to be more effective because they're real and they're true. Take a look at the story, take a look at the poem. There is power in literature, there's power in metaphor, there's power in symbol, there's power in the repetition that comes in the poem. The 5th Native author that we have here is actually doing a TED Talk, a guy named Barry Mosses, and he's talking about preserving Native American languages. we know that there were about 2,000 languages spoken by Native American tribes in North and Central America prior to the white man's arrival, because the white man showed up, as he so often does, and ruined everything. But now there are fewer than 200 Native American languages spoken in North and Central America, and about a quarter of those, more than a quarter of those, maybe as many as a third of those, are spoken by only a few elderly survivors of the tribe. So Barry Mosses talks about how important it is to maintain and preserve these languages, to basically defend that culture. And as part of his TED Talk, he explains what happened exactly. What are some of the steps that were taken to eliminate 90% of the Native American languages in North and Central America? And then finally, we come around to the final piece of writing for level 1. And this one, it's a little bit of an experiment. I've never used this assignment before, but I think you could find it interesting. I certainly do, and so I hope you take the opportunity to get excited about it. It's presenting you with another Native American author, a woman named Buffy Sainte-Marie. She's Canadian, and her name is Buffy, but she is Native, trust me. She is trying to defend the phrase or the idea of bury my heart at Wounded Knee. So she takes that sentence. She did not originate that sentence. That sentence originated with a very white man about 90 years earlier. His name was Stephen Vincent Benet, and he wrote a poem called American Names, where he basically had some fun with a number of the goofy place names that Americans have given to the geography around them. And the final line of that poem was, bury my heart at Wounded Knee. And a very generous reading of that line suggests that Stephen Vincent Benet, when he dies, he wants, his heart, his center, to be placed somewhere in a center of Native culture, because there is a creek called Wounded Knee in one of the Dakotas, and it is the site of an incredible massacre where the United States Army murdered 200 mostly unarmed men, women, and children. And so to say, as a white man, for Stephen Vincent Benet to say, bury my heart at Wounded Knee, that carries implications. There's something behind that or underneath that might be a little iffy. So in the 90s, Buffy Sainte-Marie came along. She wrote a song called Bury My Heart at Wounded Knee in an attempt to reclaim that phrase for her Native culture. And then the question that you're going to answer is, after taking a look at her stuff, taking a look at the original poem, taking a look at the methods of defense employed by the 5 previous Native authors in this level, was she successful? Did she do a good job of defending her culture by creating that song? Let's take a quick look at the rubric. Okay, there's analysis of literature, analysis of informational text. So both of these are basically just, are you able to complete the graphic organizers? Are you able to assess the relative strength of the arguments made by these 5 Native authors? Then there's RL3. The evaluation of literature standard kind of goes along with the argument standard in this particular level. If you want to be advanced, you have to carefully consider the success of Buffy Sainte-Marie's song, whether or not she was successful at taking back the phrase, bury my heart at Wounded Knee. And in the argument standard, to be advanced, you have to make a clear claim and support it with the best evidence, not only from her text, but from any of the other texts in the level that might suggest ways to defend Native culture and whether or not she's living up to that. There is a language standard. I want you paying attention to your spelling, your capitalization, your sentence sense. I don't want you to make a lot of errors. I want you to pay attention to where the squiggly red lines are. Try to fix those problems. But then also using compound sentences with correlative conjunctions. If that sounds like Greek to you, it's not. It's Latin. However, that's all explained in the level document. Good luck.